Long ago, in the quiet village of Aponmu, the river was the lifeblood of the people. It gave them fish, water for their farms, and songs for their spirits. Among the villagers lived a fisherman named Oladele, a tall, lean man whose face bore the marks of many years beneath the sun. To him, the river was more than water. It was a companion and a teacher. One evening, as the sun painted the sky with fire, Oladele heard a sound unlike any he had known before. It was not the cry of a bird, nor the rustle of reeds. It was the cry of a child. Following the sound, he found a basket of woven palm leaves resting gently by the water's edge. Inside lay a baby, no older than a few days. The child's skin glistened like polished bronze, and his tiny fists reached for the sky, as though he belonged to both the earth and the heavens. Oladele looked around for a mother, for an owner, for anyone at all, but there was none. Only the river flowing calmly, as if it had delivered the child into his hands. He lifted the baby, and at his touch the child's cries stilled. In that moment, Oladele knew this was no accident. He whispered, "I will not abandon you. From this day, you are my own." He carried the child home, where his wife Abebi received him with tears of joy. They named him Adisa, meaning one who is clear. For though his coming was wrapped in mystery, his cry was strong and true. The people of the village, however, whispered among themselves. Some said he was a blessing from the goddess Yemoja. Others muttered that he was a cursed spirit. But Oladele and Abebi cared not for their gossip. In their home, Adisa was simply their son. As the boy grew, the river never left him. When he laughed, water shimmered in clay pots. When he cried, the river roared in sympathy. Fish leapt eagerly into Oladele's nets whenever Adisa stood beside him. The people watched and murmured, "He is not no ordinary child." The old woman, Mama Ajayi, once asked him, "Do you hear the river speak?" And Adisa replied with innocent eyes, "Does it not speak to everyone? It sings when it is happy and roars when it is angry. I only listen." Strange though he was, Adisa was kind, gentle, and beloved by children. He sat by the waters, telling stories and humming songs that made the river dance. But the older folk grew wary, for they knew the river does not give without reason. When Adisa was 12, the Festival of Waters was held, as it was every year. The villagers dressed in blue and white, drumming and dancing as they set calabashes afloat upon the river in honor of Yemoja. Yet that year, the offerings circled around Adisa before drifting outward, as though the river itself recognized him. The people gasped. Some bowed in awe, others trembled in fear. The elders whispered to Oladele, "The river will call him back. He does not belong to us." But Oladele said firmly, "He is my son. I will not give him up." Years passed, and Adisa's powers grew. He brought rain when the land was dry, and calmed storms when the winds raged. But envy and fear grew too. A traitor named Ojo spread dark words, saying, "He is a spirit in disguise. One day he will drown us all." Suspicion festered, and soon the people demanded that Adisa leave. Oladele defended him with all the strength of a father's love, but Adisa knew the whispers would not cease. He turned to his father with tears and said, "Baba, You gave me love when no one else would. But the river calls, and I must answer. At dawn, Adisa went to the riverbank. As he stepped into the water, it rose to embrace him. Before the astonished villagers, the river mother appeared, radiant and sorrowful. She spoke, "This child is mine, born of the river. Yet Oladele's kindness binds him to both worlds. For his love, I will not take the boy in anger. Instead, I will bless his lineage forever." Adisa's form shimmered, half spirit, half man, until he was swallowed by the shining depths. But before he vanished, his voice rang out, "Father, your house will never know hunger by the river's side. Your children and their children after them will be blessed with abundance." From that day on, Oladele's nets never came up empty, and his fields were always green. His descendants grew strong, forever known as the blessed family of the river. The villagers, who once doubted, told and retold the tale. Never turn away a soul in need, for kindness brings blessings greater than gold. Oladele lived to a great age. He often sat by the river, speaking softly into its flowing song, and sometimes, when the night was still, he heard a familiar voice singing back, the voice of Adisa, the river child, who reminded him that love never dies. And so the story has been told, from parent to child, from elder to youth. The river sings, and the people remember the fisherman who raised the child not his own, and the spirit who repaid kindness with blessings everlasting.
Thank you so much for listening to this story at Folklore Channel's Case Stories. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click the subscribe button, turn on the notification so when I post more stories like this, you'll be the first to get them. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate your support and I do not take it for granted at all. Until I see you in my next video, bye.